HMS Ocelot was the Royal Navy's last submarine built at Chatham Dockyard, an Oberon-class diesel-electric boat designed for Cold War stealth, long submerged patrols, and clandestine intelligence work. A Cold War diesel-electric submarine of the Oberon class, commissioned in 1964. She was the final Royal Navy warship ever built at Chatham Dockyard, marking the end of nearly 6 decades of submarine construction there. General characteristics: class and type, Oberon-class diesel-electric attack submarine. Builder, Chatham Dockyard, Kent. Laid down November 17th, 1960, launched. May 5th, 1962, commissioned January 31st, 1964, decommissioned August 1991. Hull, dimensions and displacement length between perpendiculars, 241 feet. Length overall, 295.2 feet. Beam, 26.5 feet. Draft, 18 feet. Displacement, standard. Tons. Full load surfaced, 1,600 tons. Full load submerged, 2,410 tons. The Oberon hull was an evolution of the Porpoise class, using higher grade steel for the pressure hull and improved internal fittings for quieter, more reliable operation, propulsion, and power main machinery. 2 Admiralty Standard Range 16 VMS diesel generators, 2 electric motors, 3,000 shaft horsepower each. 2 shafts, each driving a 7-foot, 2.1 meters, 3-bladed propeller, up to 400 revolutions per minute system layout. Diesels run only when surfaced or at snorkel depth, charging large battery banks. Submerged running is on battery-driven electric motors, giving very low acoustic signature, one of the Oberon class's defining strengths. Performance: top speed submerged, 17 knots. Top speed surfaced, 12 knots. Range, around 10,350 nautical miles. At economical speeds, diesel running, typical for long Cold War patrols. Armament torpedo tubes, 8 21-inch 530 millimeters tubes, 6 forward, 2 aft torpedo load, 24 torpedoes, total a mix of anti-ship and anti-submarine types over her career. No deck gun. Ocelot was designed as a fully submerged, stealth-focused attack and surveillance platform. Sensors and electronics: sonar type 186, sonar type 187 sonar. Radar, I-band surface search radar. These gave her a solid sensor suite for target detection, navigation, and intelligence gathering, especially when combined with periscope-borne optics and ESM, electronic support measures, typical of late Cold War fit, crew and internal layout. Complement: about 68 to 69 personnel, 6 officers, 62 to 63 ratings. Key compartments bow to stern. Some would be asleep while others are working. Forward torpedo room with 6 tubes and bunks slung among the weapons. Forward messes and accommodation, including junior rates mess. Control room, helm, diving controls, attack and search periscopes, plotting tables, communications, operations and sonar spaces tucked around the control room, diesel engine room and motor room with batteries below decks. Aft torpedo room with 2 tubes and additional stores. Design philosophy and context. Quietness, extensive soundproofing, and careful machinery mounting made Oberons, including Ocelot, famously quiet, ideal for clandestine patrols and intelligence work. conservative but refined, externally similar to porpoise boats, but internally a careful refinement, better steel, better systems, and more reliable electrics rather than radical innovation. Why the Oberon class mattered. The Oberons were famed for being exceptionally quiet. Every piece of machinery was soundproofed, making them ideal for surveillance, intelligence gathering, and covert patrols. They were a direct evolution of the porpoise class, but with better steel, improved sensors, and more reliable internal systems. This quietness made Ocelot and her sisters some of the most effective non-nuclear submarines of the Cold War. Operational Service Ocelot served for 27 years, mostly in northern European waters, the Mediterranean, and the Baltic. Her missions remain partly classified, but her logs reveal over 90,000 miles sailed in her first 3 years alone, extensive NATO exercises acting as a target submarine for aircraft and ship trials, testing mark 24 torpedoes, participation in the 1977 Silver Jubilee Fleet Review. One notable incident, she helped salvage HMS Artemis in 1971 after Artemis sank while moored at HMS Dolphin, rescuing 3 trapped ratings. Clandestine work during the 1960s and later Cold War years, Ocelot undertook covert missions, including surveillance patrols in sensitive regions. Details remain unreleased by the Ministry of Defense, but her design and deployment patterns strongly indicate intelligence-focused operations. Her final deployment in 1989, under the command of then-Lieutenant Trevor Soar, later Commander-in-Chief Fleet, Ocelot undertook a long deployment involving a covert patrol of the Falklands Exclusion Zone passage through Panama during a military coup. This was her last major Cold War voyage. Decommissioning and preservation Ocelot was paid off in August 1991 as the RN shifted fully toward nuclear submarines. In 1992, she returned to Chatham Historic Dockyard, where she remains a fully tourable museum submarine. You can walk through her torpedo room, control room, mess decks, and periscope station, even swing through the hatches, as her crew once did. Tour 1, Forward Torpedo Room. This is where your tour begins, and where life aboard Ocelot began for most junior ratings. Torpedo tube, 6 21-inch tubes, angled slightly outward. Torpedo stowage racks for up to 18 weapons with bunks slung between them. Purpose, attack, defense, and training shots. Atmosphere, metal machinery, and the smell of hydraulic oil. Crew life, you sleep next to live torpedoes. Sailors joked that the torpedoes snored less than the stokers. This compartment doubled as a mess, recreation space, and emergency shelter. 2, forward messes and accommodation. Moving aft, you enter the cramped living spaces. Junior rates mess tables, lockers, and bunks stacked like a honeycomb. Senior rates mess, slightly more space, better food, and the unofficial center of gossip. Purpose, eating, sleeping, writing letters, and trying to stay sane. Atmosphere, warm, noisy, and always smelling faintly of diesel and tea. This is where the crew watched films on a tiny projector and celebrated birthdays with improvised cakes. 3, control room, the heart of Ocelot. The most important compartment on the boat. Everything happens here. Helm and diving controls. Plainsmen control depth and trim. Attack periscope slim. High magnification used for firing torpedoes. Search periscope thicker with better optics for reconnaissance. plotting tables, navigation and target tracking, communications radios, encryption gear, and sonar repeaters. This is where the captain stood during attacks, where the boat was steered, and where the crew gathered during emergencies. Atmosphere, red lights, quiet voices, and the hum of electronics. 4. Sonar and operation spaces tucked around the control room. These are the nerve centers for detection and intelligence. Sonar consoles Type 1, 86, and 187 sets. ESM equipment, listening for enemy radar emissions. Ops room, where contacts were classified and threats assessed. Atmosphere, dark, quiet, headphones everywhere. Operators could identify a ship class just from propeller noise. 5. Battery compartments below decks. Not accessible on the public tour, but essential to understand. 2 massive battery wells, each holding dozens of lead-acid cells. Purpose: silent submerged, running the Oberon's greatest strength. Atmosphere, hot, acidic, and dangerous. A battery fire was one of the worst emergencies a submarine could face. 6. Diesel engine room. Now the noise ramps up. ASR-16 VMS diesels. 2 huge engines used only on the surface or at snorkel depth. Purpose: charging batteries and providing surface propulsion. Atmosphere, deafening, oily, and hot. Engineers worked in temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius on long patrols. 7. Motor room, directly aft of the diesels. Electric motors, 2 quiet running motors driving the shafts. Purpose: stealth propulsion underwater. Atmosphere, cooler, quieter, but still cramped. This is where the boat's true stealth came from. 8. Aft torpedo room, the final compartment. 2 stern tubes used mainly for defensive shots or exercise firing, stores and machinery, plus emergency gear. Atmosphere, quieter than the forward room but still tight. This compartment also housed additional bunks and acted as a secondary escape space. 10. The conning tower bridge. Not part of the public walkthrough, but historically crucial. Periscope wells, navigation repeaters, bridge controls for surface running. Atmosphere, freezing, wet, and exposed, but offering the best view on the boat. 11. External features. As you exit the tour, walking along the dock, you'll see Bow's sonar dome, hydroplane's propellers, snorkel, and periscope masts. Ocelot's hull shape is classic Cold War diesel electric, sleek, quiet, and built for endurance. A day aboard HMS Ocelot was a tight, rhythmic cycle of noise, silence, sweat, humor, and absolute discipline. The lived reality of a Cold War diesel-electric boat built for stealth. What follows is a full, immersive reconstruction of a typical day during a mid-1970s patrol, drawn from Oberon-class routines, crew accounts, and Ocelot's preserved layout at Chatham. 0400, the boat wakes in silence. The control room is dim, lit only by red lamps. The boat is running fully submerged on batteries, the quietest state an Oberon could achieve. The watch change happens quietly. One helmsman slides out of the seat, another slides in. The sonar operator listens to the ocean static, noting faint screws far off merchant traffic. In the forward mess, a few ratings wake up, careful not to disturb the men sleeping in bunks slung above torpedoes. 0600, tea, condensation, and diesel. Smell, the boat rises to snorkel depth. The mass breaks the surface, diesels roar to life. The atmosphere changes instantly. The air becomes warm and oily, filled with the smell of fuel and machinery. Condensation drips from pipes overhead. The cook brews tea on the still warm casing of the 6-inch kettle in the galley. The smell drifts through the boat. Breakfast is simple. Tinned bacon grill, powdered eggs, bread that's getting stale. The crew eat in shifts, knees touching in the cramped mess. 0800, periscope ups. The captain enters the control room. The boat dips back below snorkel depth. He raises the attack periscope, a quick 360-degree sweep. A merchant ship spotted on the horizon. Bearings past a sonar to confirm. The control room hums with quiet activity chart tables, plotting boards, whispered orders. 1,000 maintenance, always maintenance. Ocelot's machinery is reliable, but demands constant attention, typical tasks. Checking battery temperatures, overheating is dangerous. Inspecting diesel injectors, greasing valve linkages, tightening anything that rattles. Noise discipline is everything. In the motor room, the air is hot, metallic, and loud. Ratings work stripped to the waist, sweat running down their backs. 1,200. Dinner and banter dinner. Lunch is the biggest meal. Stew or curry-tinned fruit tea. Always tea. Humor is constant. Crude jokes, impersonations, teasing. It's how submariners stay sane. Someone inevitably complains about the lack of fresh bread. Someone else tells the story of the time a rating fell asleep in the torpedo room and woke up convinced he'd been fired out of a tube. 1,400. Training and drills. Even on quiet patrols, drills are relentless. Fire drill in the engine room, flooding drill in the forward compartment, emergency surface practice, torpedo loading exercise. The boat becomes a maze of shouted orders, clanging hatches, and men moving fast in impossibly tight spaces. 1,600. Quiet running. The boat descends again to deep patrol depth. Everything slows. No loud talking, no dropped tools, no unnecessary movement. The sonar operator hears a faint rhythmic thrum. A distant Soviet trawler, maybe. The captain orders a slight course change to avoid detection. This is the Oberon class at its best. Silent, patient, invisible. 1,800, tea again. Evening meal is lighter, soup or sandwiches, biscuits and tea, of course. The boat smells of food, diesel, and 68 men living in a steel tube. 2,000, the long night. The boat stays deep, watches rotate. Some men read paperbacks. Others write letters they won't send until weeks later. In the forward mess. A card game, someone plays a cassette tape. Someone else tries to fix a Walkman with a butter knife. In the control room, the night watch keeps the boat steady, listening to the ocean. 2,300 sleep in shifts. Sleep is never quiet. The hum of machinery, the creak of the hull, the occasional thump of someone climbing through a hatch. Men sleep in narrow bunks, some above torpedoes, some beside pipes, some beside the battery tanks. Privacy doesn't exist. 0400, the cycle begins again. Another day of stealth routine, humor, disciplined sweat, silence aboard HMS Ocelot. Every day was the same, and every day was different.